So, welcome everyone to this edition of the KIX Conversation. I am Fernanda del Pozo, researcher from the KIX LAC project, and it's a pleasure to share this space with you to exchange experience and discuss topics related to education in Latin America and the Caribbean. We thank each person who is watching this content through our YouTube channel and the KIX LAC Facebook page. And we invite you to follow our fan page and subscribe to our channel and share this content. Before I start, I would like to tell you a little bit about what KIX is. KIX is a knowledge, innovation, and exchange initiative promoted by the Global Partnership for Education and the International Development Research Center. To achieve its objective, KIX relies on regional hubs worldwide where educational leaders share information, knowledge, innovation, and experience. Among these hubs, SUMA, together with the Organization for Eastern Caribbean States, leads the Latin American and Caribbean hub. The hub comprises 10 countries: Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, Haiti, Honduras, Nicaragua, St. Lucia and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Guatemala, and El Salvador. On this occasion, it's a pleasure to introduce Mr. Mervin Alexander, President of the Dominica Association of Teachers. Welcome, Mr. Mervin. Thank you for accepting our invitation and sharing your experience.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Great.
I would like to start by introducing a short bio of our guest. So, Mr. Mervin Alexander has a certificate in teacher education at Dominican Teachers Training College and an advanced certificate in school music from St. Lucia School of Music. He served on the board of directors of St. Mary's Cooperative Credit Union for over 40 years in the capacities of director, president, secretary, and treasurer. He served on the board of directors of Gerald Eggleston Consumer Cooperative Limited for approximately 35 years in the position of the director, secretary, and treasurer. He's the president of the Dominica Association of Teachers. Well, so we're going to start the interview, and to start this interview, it's mandatory to do it with a question about COVID's impact on education in the country. We know that COVID-19 has changed the face of education in the Caribbean, and in Dominica, over 12,337 students and over 1,178 teachers were impacted by the disruption caused by the pandemic. So with a little more perspective now, what were the major challenges exposed by the pandemic, and how have the Dominica Association of Teachers implemented strategies and initiatives to face them?
Well, I think the major challenge the pandemic posed was the lack of training of teachers in online teaching. Fortunately for us a little bit, some initial training was done, but not enough. There are some schools who are much more in advance than others, but most schools had absolutely no idea of teaching online. So that was a major problem. Nonetheless, the Ministry of Education, along with the Dominica Association of Teachers, had some sessions, and teachers came on board quite nicely and that sort of thing. And but another thing was that the whole question of internet connectivity, because it depends on where you are in the country, you had no access to internet. Bearing in mind also the country was just sort of recovering from Hurricane Maria, which caused great damage to the country and infrastructure. So in some areas, internet connectivity was an issue, and so a lot had to be done. Teachers had to take work to schools and that sort of thing, to students rather at their homes, because they couldn't access internet and that sort of thing. Also, another hurdle for us was the question of devices for teachers. The government gave devices to the children, but unfortunately, the teachers were not given. So teachers were dependent on their own devices to teach. And this, I think, they did very well because, I mean, they really wanted the students to learn. So they moved to the plate and did what they had to do. They used their personal devices, either their cell phones or their laptops, and they taught the students the best way they feel they could. So these are basically the major challenges we had with the COVID-19. And that's the thing. In terms of DAT, what we did, we recognized that our teachers, the whole mental health, we felt we had to do something about that. So we had some sessions with some counselors where they could express themselves and talk about what they were going through. And this proved very well for them because they from their own feedback, they were very happy to have received those interventions from DET. We tried our best to source devices, but we were unsuccessful. So,
Okay, great.
okay.
So, as you mentioned before, teaching profession in Dominica countries is one of the most important aspects of education in Dominica. So, pre-services provide and most individuals complete this training before entering the teaching profession. On average, 64% of teachers at the primary level and 51% of the teachers at the secondary level are trained. So, could you tell us a little more about the pre-service education, the in-service education and career path in Dominica?
There's not so much a pre per se.
Okay.
What we would have is a sort of induction into the service. But some people, what we have now is that most teachers now are going into the state college now to do the professional teacher training before they enter the classroom. But we also have those who are entering without without training. So but during the while they're there, training is conducted, and of course they enter the state college, and whilst they are state college and they are school, and they are doing the training program as well too. So we are at the moment really developing this whole question of the whole career path for teachers along with the Ministry of Education, and then because we think that is very, very important. Recently, after many, many years of negotiation and talking, recently the government um, established certain positions in the secondary schools in Dominica. Those those positions were really there already, but were not as established, like deputy principals, assistant principals, heads of department. Whilst teachers, what's the word I'm looking for? Whilst teachers performed in these areas, they were not really they were not what should I say really appointed in the position. So last year, government eventually established these positions in the secondary schools. So now deputy principals are now established. It's now an established post. Assistant principal is now an established post. Senior qualified teacher is also now an established post. Heads of department is also now an established position in the teaching service in Dominica for secondary schools. At the moment, we are looking at the primary school situation right now because we need to do something on that as well too.
Okay. And the Association of Teachers has an important role here in like negotiation and getting this position for teachers and this better quality of position for teachers.
Oh
What's
yes,
the role of you as
yes, because
organization?
I mean, for that matter, we have been making we have been talking about it for years now.
Okay.
So eventually it came to being.
Okay.
So
For
fight
sure.
now is to get the primary schools also on board. And
Okay.
that's the thing, yeah.
Okay. Okay, and before we continue our interview, I want to go a little bit back because I was interested in what you told me about the COVID situation, and I wanted to ask you, what's the situation right now? How did you get through these problems and issues that you identified did you come over? Have you gone back to school? Like, it's the situation more normal now? How are you dealing with it?
It's very normal now, trust me.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody's now back at school and so on. Last year we had a little issue, some issue last year. We only went back to school full time in the third term last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we had a surge from July last year. But this
Okay.
year, the school year, we started full off and that sort of thing. So I
Okay.
think people began to understand that they have to take precaution and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, I mean, we are well on the way now at school.
Okay. Okay. And connectivity situation, did you manage to improve it, or not that much
But I
during?
feel they're still having issues. Trust me,
Okay.
and it's really beyond our control because is the we have spoken about it, but again, is the providers they're the
Yes.
ones. So we still have there's still some issues, and even in the schools, they're still having
Yes.
issues and that sort of thing.
Okay.
But we're hopeful that things will improve and that sort of thing. The government is trying its very best as well to ensure
Mm.
that things work out properly and that sort of thing.
Okay. Okay. So we continue with the other question. So there's a continued demand for teachers in more complex teaching disciplines such as vocational education and training expertise, modern STEAM, and information technology skills, as well as a growing demand for environmental education and for sustainability knowledge and skill. Is there a strategy in the country to address this demand, these specific demands?
Since Hurricane Maria, the government has sort of embarked on a very aggressive program instead of looking at resistance and that sort of thing. And as far as the environment is concerned, there's a lot of emphasis on the environment, and there's a special committee was set up to look at this whole thing because the aim of the government is to make Dominica the first resilient country in the world. So
Mm-hmm.
they do quite a bit about this. So quite a bit has been done about this. But
Okay.
in terms of we try also our very best with the Ministry of Education to train our teachers in various disciplines, and especially in online teaching. Because
Okay.
there's a what we call it, what we have in Dominica now is the IT for Dominica. There's an IT for Dominica program. So every summer there's a program where the teachers are engaged in learning to use the internet or the using online teaching and that sort of thing. And that's been going very, very well. And teachers are very excited about it. So
Okay.
there's a lot going on at the moment in Dominica. But I think what is our major problem right now is that is our male population in terms of our teaching, in terms of teaching. We don't
You
have many males in the service. And I
okay.
think that is posing a little problem for especially our boys.
Okay. And what do you think about that? Why do you think what's the reason to not having no male teachers?
Well, I think for most of them, I think it is the salary.
It's
Like
what, sorry?
the salary.
Okay.
Because I
Oh,
mean, as we know, all,
so that's a
most
problem in itself.
teachers are not paid very highly.
Okay.
So and they, especially young men nowadays, and they like to have the various things when they start working out of and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So some feel that okay, from personally speaking to me, that is the salary is not attractive for them at all. And if they
Mm-hmm.
come in for a while, as soon as they get something better, they get out
Okay.
because they feel that they need sufficient something
Mm.
to take care of themselves and their families, and that's the
Okay.
difference. I think that's one of our major problems in the service right now.
Okay.
So
And from your perspective, from the teacher organization, do you see possibilities of improvement on the profession of teaching, like from the conditions, salary conditions, for all the teachers? Is
well,
there?
sorry.
No, no, continue. Go,
Okay.
go.
We are really, really working on this, and we really encourage our teachers to further their education as
Okay.
much as they can. So we give support to our teachers. Teachers come to us for financial support. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we don't have much, but we see how we can help them because they want to further their education, and that's so
Okay.
we do that. We also try to make representation on the behalf to the government to see how they can help them to further the education, because we feel that is important and that sort of thing. So we try. We also organize summer workshops as well for our teachers to
Mm-hmm.
train them in certain disciplines, because we recognize with teachers a week. So we work along with the Ministry of Education to sort of boost these teachers and improve their skills.
Okay. Okay. Um, we're getting to the end of the interview.
Okay.
So, one major issue among teachers in general, not Dominica in particular, is the idea of making reforms or innovative change within the curriculum. For example, there are curriculum changes that may require additional teaching resources and the abilities to use them, or new programs that require continuing professional development among teachers. Issues as resistance to change, teacher burnout, and lack of available resources are obstacles to implement innovation that were mandated to improve the systems. What do you think about this? How do we overcome these obstacles that are common in teachers?
But I think our major thing is that teachers not having the necessary devices to teach, like a laptop for that matter, because now, I mean, whether we want to accept it or not, now this has become something a part of the education system now, and so it is really causing them some problems, because some teachers still have to teach online, because as I said, we're just recovering from Hurricane David.
Mm-hmm.
Some of our schools have not yet even been rebuilt.
Okay.
So so schools are sharing plans, and that means that some students have to still work online
Okay.
for on certain days. So, and teachers are crying about devices because they really don't have, and some who had, it got spoiled and whatever and so on. So, and again, you don't have the kind of salary to buy as such per se, because they have their own families to look after. So that is really posing like a problem for them. And I think they really want to do it, but at the same time, it's really taking a toll on them sometimes, and that sort of thing. So I think most of them are very happy with the position that the government created. So instead of give them a little boost, and they're trying their very best and doing their very best in the system.
Hmm.
So, and I think they're very open to change and that sort of thing, because when we organize workshops, they come to the workshops and they
Okay.
express themselves and that sort of thing. So I think they're very open to change.
Okay, that's good to hear. So,
Yeah.
for example, when you are talking about this change, like to having like sustainable or ecological curriculum, it's you see that's like there's interest from teachers
Oh
to
yes.
implement this change. There is, okay.
Most definitely, most definitely. And I mean, when you hear them talk about the experiences, what they've been able to do,
Mm-hmm.
just by in fact, they learn by doing things themselves. So what they have been able to do with their little phones and laptops and whatever and so on, their personal thing, they're very surprised that they will be able to do these things themselves.
Okay.
So,
That's very interesting.
yeah.
And before we close, I wanted to ask you one more thing that I was curious about. You talk about the idea of having a resilient educational system, something like that. Could you explain a little bit more about it? Because I think it's very interesting, like coming from a region that, and we are all coming from a crisis, like a health crisis right now, but you come from a region that has a lot of crisis, like Hurricane Mary, as you were talking.
Yes.
What does it mean to have a resilient um, education for you?
One of the things that we hear is that our schools, sorry, were also used as hurricane shelters.
Uh-huh.
So it means when a storm passes, people are in the schools for shelter. And if they have lost their homes, they have nowhere to go. So they remain in the schools for a very long time. And also, whilst they're there, I mean, sad to say it, but sometimes they cause a lot of damage to the premises. So it means that if they are there, the children can attend school. So things, it's kind of interfering with the education of the children. So the government is doing something very remarkably. What they're doing is they're building
Mm.
centers around the country that could ease up schools from being shelters. And that is a remarkable thing because, I mean, the people can go to those shelters and leave the schools alone so that schools can resume almost immediately after a disaster.
Okay,
And
that's
even the schools that they're building now, I think they're building them a lot. Well, I'm not a builder, but I think from the way they're speaking, they're building them more resistant now to hurricanes than before.
okay.
And that's
That's very interesting. Well, thank you, Mr. Mervin. It has been a pleasure for all of us to listen to you, and we hope we meet soon again.
Thank
We
you very
also,
much for having me.
yes, it was a pleasure to talk to
Okay,
you.
good.
We also thank the organizing team that made it possible, GPE, ITRC, OX, and all the SUMA team involved in this important initiative to continue thinking and discussing the educational changes in the region. And we invite you to follow us on our social networks and to inform about upcoming events, news, and activities that we'll carry out during this year. Okay,
Okay,
thank
thanks.
you to everyone, and bye bye,
Okay,
Mervin.
bye.